Well, let's just hope that it does. After one last water bout, which Julie manages to win rather easily by simply using her earth magic to uppercut Emily out of the water. Then, Julie jumps out of the pool and lands on a limestone carpet she made to make sure she didn't slip, and offers Emily to help her up. Emily, being not all that good at getting up while being soaked, takes the gesture and sighs in relief that she didn't end up falling and hurting herself. I think it's about time to get changed, eh? Of course. Ohno must be looking for something to do. We might have to get back right away. They go inside the changing facility next to the pool and get on their normal outfits, drain the pool, take down the floor tile wall for now, and leave. They come back to an absolutely grooving Ohno, who seems to be having the time of her life. She doesn't notice them come in and gets a rather big shock hearing them, thinking it was coming from the radio. Oh hey there guys. I really didn't notice you there. You're all done for today, right? Yeah, we finished pretty nicely this time, Emily says, as she starts having a jokingly nervous expression on her. Although Julie did comment about my fat levels today. Julie, that's super mean. Why on earth would you do that? Ohno quickly gets over to defend Emily from any verbal slander. Emily, I know you love playing practical jokes on me, but please don't make stuff up like that. Ohno doesn't seem any convinced, while Emily has a rather tender smile to her. Geez, you always find a way to make a compliment into a jab at me. All I was really saying was that she was attractive. Ohno, thinking it was a case of fat shaming for a bit, starts to chuckle a little. Julie, we all know that you look at my fat because you're secretly completely into me. What? No. Don't try to falsely claim my sexual orientation. Julie stops for a moment to think of an unhealthy habit of mine. Ohno starts full-blown laughing at the comedy routine here, but, well, quickly stops as she realizes something. Wait, Julie, I never noticed that before. Could you be lesbian? Julie blushes profusely and loses the ability to speak for a moment. She goes to the couch and sits, sweetly, looking down at the ground, concerned for her own well-being. She seems to be deep in thought at the moment. Emily then pulls Ohno away from the living room and decides to tell Ohno something. You see, Julie has conflicting messages at the moment. She's practically both a girl and a boy at the same time, and participates in a lot of team sports. But, she's having issues figuring out what team she wants to be on. Wait, she has trouble with sports tea. No, I don't mean that Ohno-chan. She's figuring out what gender she's attracted to, and whenever anatomy comes up, she blanks out like this trying to figure it out. The only thing that'll get her to realize she's overthinking again is if we crack the worst joke we possibly can. But why not a really good joke? Because I tried already, and it doesn't work. They continue planning, and then walk over Julie, deep into thought and clearly beginning to mumble to herself those thoughts. Hey Julie. What do you call a lake without any water? They both say. As soon as she hears this, her eyes start to act normal again. She stops mumbling and looks towards them. She still seems very concerned though. A dake, they finish the joke, but all of a sudden Julie's eyes light up, as she suddenly gets up, extremely happy out of nowhere, and doing a flip, and as soon as she starts standing again. I like Mendisu. It was in the most comedically unconvincing tone ever, and made Ohno end up not working for a few seconds. Then Emily and Jill both hysterically laughed during this moment, unable to control themselves anymore. You guys were trying to prank me, weren't you? Yes indeed. I mean, that was the perfect setup for a punchline. A series of bad weight jokes baiting someone into thinking Julie's lesbian, and as soon as they tried to snap them out, do the most random and unexpected thing ever. Emily says, while still laughing. It was laughter at Ohno's expense. But she was fine with it, and she chuckled along soon after. So, I've been having fun with dancing to Tse songs, Ohno says, as she notices the song on the radio is a bit away for ending. Once this one ends, do you guys want to join in? I mean, sure, why not? It's the least we can do after such a banger of a prank, Julie says. They wait for the song to end, and it does. However, as they are beginning to groove to the next song, the radio stops the music. Attention all Japanese citizens, this broadcast has been interrupted to bring to you some horrific news. At this very moment, 2 mutant pterodactyls are devastating Osaka, injuring hundreds, and killing tens of thousands. They seem to be capable of shooting through even solid concrete, despite their stature, and they have caused mass hysteria and a flaming inferno along with it. The Japanese military is being sent in to take care of the threat immediately, and, hey, weren't those some of the demons that came out earlier on Monday? Ohno recalls. Shit, I guess they were after ulterior motives. Had they not been given a reason, they probably would have done something different. Like decimate this town. Yes, that would have been horrible. I don't even know if we could have stopped it, if that was the plan. Emily concerningly says. Get into a shelter issued by the government immediately, and evacuate the area, if you cannot. Wait, does that fucking thing see us? Oh shit, no, 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 no. Have mercy, axe explosion is heard through the mic and the transmission cuts off completely immediately afterwards. What started as an innocent day has been torn apart limb from limb until it was an omen. God, I feel horrible for the people there who can't defend themselves in that chaos. Emily says. You know, I think we need something to cheer ourselves up after. Wait, where did Ohno go? Julie says, then exclaims. Emily and Julie look all over the house for her, but she's not there. Extremely worried, they run all across the neighborhood looking for her. Unknown to them, Ohno ran off to grab her bed from her parents' house, and rolled it all the way to what used to be Blossom High. She then tucked in everything but her arms, and began to shoot fire from her hands, trying to make shapes out of the smoke. Once finished, the smoke made a simple word, yes, which, immediately afterwards, she smiles and instantly falls asleep. Emily and Julie eventually found her, sleeping in a vast empty space, but they didn't want to bother her all that much. So, they left some non-perishables beside the bed and went their separate ways. When the sun rises again on a Thursday morning, Ohno rises straight out of bed. She doesn't even notice the food her friends left for her at first and begins the day by throwing a fireball far enough to leave a lasting flame, for about an hour. She is very eager to finally be able to use the chain linking technique. After another hour of trying to manually link the flame to her hand in an attempt to control it, she can't do it. It makes her feel a little bad, knowing she can't utilize what the magic book said was a beginner level thing to learn. But then she gets an idea. What if she manages to place a mine on her own hand, and daisy chain something thrown with that same hand? She tries this, but, of course, the first time doesn't work. The second time, she notices a faint line of pure orange flame connecting the fireball and the mine she put on her hand together, before it vanishes and the fireball lands. Now knowing how to accomplish what she's been wanting to learn to become more useful, she finally notices her belly is aching and that she needs food. Fortunately, an entire meal of rice happened to be next to her bed, and she very much enjoys it. She then drinks some water from the water bottle, smirks, wipes the water off her face, and then goes right at finally making this technique usable. It takes the entirety of the morning and afternoon, a lot of sweat, and a lot of extinguishing fires she left, until she finally establishes a firm connection with the fireball using the mine. Now that she thinks about it, it's not even a mine, but an automatic receiver. The only reason she didn't figure it out earlier was because she thought the fireball itself was a receiver, and therefore thought the hand would send the energy to it. Yet, she screams in success and happiness, practically dripping in sweat, and knowing that she overdid it with her magic reserves taking a toll on her arms, she takes the opportunity to head back to Emily's house and have a shower before the two of them get back. She really does need the break after all, and she notes that a shower after such a big accomplishment to her felt really good. She gets out feeling fresh, puts her pajamas in the wash, and puts on her school uniform. An odd change, but what happened yesterday disrupted her schedule a bit. Ohno then goes to lay in the grass a bit. Wow, the sun sure is nice this time of day. I guess I spend so much time working hard that I can't see the little things that I always wanted to see, she says to herself. All that time studying to get into a good school, mother was saying how beautiful this all was. The sunset, that is. But I could never see it, because I didn't have any real friends. She had Nakamura-san and his sister, but that was only because knowing the smart kid would get you much farther than a normal friendship ever could. Her parents always wanted the best for her, and she completely understood that. Heck, Paris would have been somewhere nice to go for a future life. But not now. Not when she's still mourning the loss of Blossom High, the place she spent her whole life, since first grade on. Training her magic powers there, in a sense, meant something to her. That the spirit of the place she stepped foot in, on March 31st, her birthday, would carry her to do even better than she could alone. And she'd use that power to protect her family, her new friends, her town, maybe all of Japan, if she had to. This pretty flame would be everyone's justice. She gets up, makes herself a nice spaghetti, still having the thought of Mr. Cephalou on her mind, and manages to enjoy it. She leaves the stuff she didn't eat for Jill and Emily, since she's sure they'll need it. But, as soon as she leaves to head back to where Blossom High was, she comes across her friends. Hey there Ohno. How are you doing? Emily asks rather excitedly. Great. I did something neat today, even if it hurt my arms a little. Ohno replies back with the same excitement. Really? What could it possibly be? Julie asks. I can finally redirect my fireballs using flame chain links. Wow. That's actually really amazing Ohno-chan. I never thought me or you could even do something like that. Emily congratulates Ohno for the discovery. It does sound non-genuine, though, and Ohno seems to catch on rather quick. Guys, I got a feeling that there's something, no, multiple things you're not telling me here. We're supposed to be friends, right? No Ohno-chan. We aren't hiding anything from you. Everything is okay here, Julie says in an attempt to calm Ohno down. But then never mind. If it's a secret you want to keep, it'd be rude of me to insist. Ohno walks away, seemingly disappointed in the lack of clarity they are showing. Ohno, wait. Emily says to try to stop her. But she doesn't stop. God, why did I have to make Ohno so upset over us trying to keep her away from Mr. Cephalou? If he came here on such a short notice, he has to be related to the I.T.C. and could be after the book. But I never wanted Ohno to feel horrible over it. Emily. Julie puts her hand on Emily's shoulder. It's better if she's like this than having her potentially interrogated. We're helping her by doing this. All of this. They look at each other seriously for a moment, having a slight understanding time. Let's go see what Ohno made for us. They both walk into the house and shut the door. Ohno, meanwhile, is heading back to her training grounds, going to sleep in the bed. Sure, her arms couldn't handle much movement, but her legs kept things tidy while they were healing. She goes again to sleep, just as unsure as she did when she brought the bed here. The next day, she notices she wakes up much earlier than usual, and, now concerned over what secrets her friends were keeping from her, went to Rising Sun University and asked if Mr. Cephalou was there. No, I'm afraid not. He decided that taking the day off would help him get used to Japan a bit. A mature, middle-aged man says to her, "Speaking of which, you are Ohno Uchino, right?" "Well, yes, that's me. I'm just as hurt as you are that Blossom High disappeared so soon as well. I guess the prefect decided to let you enroll here to make up for it. You see, my son went to that school as well. Are you sure you want to share such a personal life story with me right here, Mr. Goro?" Ohno wordingly says. "I mean, what if the staff?" "Don't worry, I told head office and my colleagues already. You see, he was in his 3rd year in high school. Now, I kept tabs on my only child, so I always asked him what he thought of the school and such. He said it was great." He stops for a moment to drink a glass of water. Next day comes, the school is gone, he's devastated, and then, a day later, he runs away without his phone and I can't seem to find him anywhere. Did he have any friends that you could contact to help find them, Mr. Goro? Sadly enough, no. I called any of them that may still be living with a parent, and they haven't seen their kids since the day before. The ones that were independent left on voicemail. That's awful, Mr. Goro. I honestly wish I could help find him and all those other missing teens. Ohno feels bad that even people have gone missing in regards to this as well as the school being gone. But she perks up and gives a sheet of paper to him. "That's my parents' contact information, by the way. Just in case I go missing or you need to contact my parents. Thanks. I know someone in the office who's been looking for that ever since you enrolled." Ohno leaves the school, having done both of what she wanted to do, before she continues her training. The missing teen issue struck Ohno's consciousness and heart pretty hard, and she couldn't get it out of her head. But, as she finally makes it back to where Blossom High used to be, what seemed to be Mr. Cephalou just sitting there, sipping some tea. It really did look like he had been there for a bit. "Oh hey there, Mr. Cephalou, what are you doing here?" "Well, isn't it obvious? Taking the detention to you, of course. A true gentleman wouldn't want a student that enjoys their company a chance to miss an opportunity like this," he casually says in a soft gesture. "Well, that's nice and all, but how on earth did you know I was here?" "I happened to come across a bed in the middle of an abandoned area and decided to simply wait." He finally stands up incredibly fast, even for a normal human. "You aren't very normal, are you, Mr. Cephalou?" "Indeed you are correct. Of course, my teaching job is one, but I have another in my spare time. One that require me to move as fast as I did." Ohno now completely gets it. Someone with the ability to move like that without even using any magic is worthy of being afraid of. But she isn't flowering for her life. Instead, she smiles, while staying exactly where she was. Somewhere, in her heart, she knew that he'd never attack her without prior warning. You know, most people would run if they saw something remotely as supernatural as this. Well, you may be the most brave soul I've ever met. Well, currently, that is. Well, that's interesting for sure. I feel honored. Ohno pauses for a moment, before putting on a rather neutral face. "If we ever fought, I'm sure that I'd be the one who loses. Actually, I'd argue against that. But I don't have any reason to ask you where the magic book is, so, well, I guess you win, if you consider us standing here a fight." Ohno quickly throws a fireball directly at the perfectly still Mr. Cephalou. He, to her shock, pulls out a sword and completely evaporates the fireball with one forward slash. "I guess now you can consider it won. Well, you made it a bit more believable to my colleagues. You have my gratitude, and I respect your honor." He begins to leave and head away from Blossom High, but he throws a small notebook towards Ohno. "Consider that your new homework, good mom." It was rather weird to see Mr. Cephalou in a new light, other than him being a detention teacher. Actually, she never even expected him to be out here in the first place, let alone finding out he's got a job outside of teaching. Ohno spent a good 2 minutes hypothesizing what kind of odd profession would he be part of, but she collects herself and reads the book he gave her, as the very first she does out of sheer respect. The book was a handbook for the International Threat Destruction Creed. The most notable thing that she learned of were the magic books themselves. Rather, a sat on approaching and containing one. The book details that sometimes, certain events may cause an ancient book to make itself visible to the user. Carrying the book seems to not do anything, but using the book to learn an element inside grants them the ability to use magic.